life and death, good and evil, two sides of a chess game, two forces in the universe, one magnificent, the other sinister. It is said that the devil plays for men's souls. So does Dr. Fu Manchu. Satan himself, evil incarnate. My tea. Bring Manson to me. You see, James LeConte is dead, as I planned, and everyone thinks his death was accidental. It was as I told you it would be.
Yes, sir.
And now to proceed with the rest of my plan.
I purchased the stock in Argosy Chemical that you told me to. It's in my name now. As soon as they have a meeting of the board of directors, I can vote for your man.
I cannot truthfully say Alexander Baldwin is my man. Because of the stock he inherited, Mr. Baldwin is already an executive in corporation. He is not a man to be influenced by threats or undue pressure. However, he has a weakness. He is determined to become famous as a promoter of universal harmony. For several years now, he has been active in various movements to further world peace. It is this phobia of his you must cultivate in making arrangements with him.
I believe I understand.
Argosy has a monopoly on the production of certain chemicals which are essential in the manufacture of military explosives. Control of Argosy's distribution is worth millions. Through Mr. Baldwin, I intend to have that control.
I appreciate your offer, Mr. Manson, and the confidence you show in me.
Well, I'll be very happy to help put you in a position where you'll have more opportunities to carry on your good work. And not only for Argosy Chemical, but for your efforts in behalf of world peace as well.
You know about that?
Well, frankly, that is what caused my interest in you. But we must understand each other. In return for my helping you into the presidency of Argosy Chemical, I want you to promise that the corporation will stop operating as a, shall we say, merchant of death?
What do you mean?
Weren't the foreign munitions makers referred to as merchants of death when they armed Germany before World War II?
But we sell only to friendly, non-aggressive nations.
Can you guarantee they will always remain non-aggressive? You know you can't, Mr. Baldwin. And so I must insist that the corporation stop selling to munitions makers of any country.
Very idealistic, Mr. Manson, but hardly practical. We must dispose of the chemicals we manufacture.
Recently, on a trip to Brazil, I learned of a project started there of clearing vast tracts of jungle for cultivating to farm crops. The work will require large amounts of insecticides, weed killers, and fertilizers, most of which can be made from chemicals you are now selling to munitions plants.
Farmers simply cannot pay our prices.
In this case, they can. I have a tentative contract here from one of the largest chemical distributors in Rio de Janeiro. They have agreed to buy Argosy's entire output for the same price you are now getting from England.
This is amazing, Mr. Manson.
Truly amazing, Mr. Baldwin. And there's no reason why the next president of Argosy Chemical can't accept this contract, is there?
No. No, none at all.
Argosy Chemical announced the election of Alexander Baldwin as president at the stockholders' meeting held yesterday. He will replace the late James LeConte, who was killed when his plane crashed last month.
much for England's war effort.
I'm John Petrie, Doctor of Medicine, attached to the Surgeon General's office. The young lady is Betty Leonard, my assistant. When anything happens to upset anything as important as Britain's munitions industry, the man most likely to be called in is Sir Dennis Nayland Smith, late of Scotland Yard, but now, well, on a roving assignment.
As yet, we can't connect Fu Manchu definitely with Mr. Baldwin. But we keep close watch on agents known to have worked with Fu Manchu. And we've learned that a certain country behind the Iron Curtain has commissioned one of these agents to purchase large supplies of chemicals from the Argosy Company.
For what purpose?
To be used in their war effort against the West, of course. So it appears that those chemicals, which are no longer sent to England, are now being diverted to another customer, a potential enemy, through the hands of Fu Manchu. Now, our problem is to find this out definitely. And if our suspicions are correct, to stop it.
Now, you have this agent of Fu Manchu's under surveillance?
Yes. One of our agents followed him to Rio de Janeiro. A few days later, our man was found dead, with the mark of Fu Manchu burned on his forehead.
Good heavens.
Petrie, you own stock in the Argosy Company, don't you?
Well, yes, a little.
And Baldwin was a patient of yours when you were in private practice, wasn't he?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we've always been quite friendly. But who told you?
Oh, we have a complete file on Mr. Baldwin.
Then you must know he's a completely honest man. He wouldn't deal with Fu Manchu, and he wouldn't sell out his country either.
His record would appear to bear that out, Betty, and yet he's canceled the English contracts. Why? I've also purchased shares in the Argosy Company, and as interested stockholders, we shall pay Mr. Baldwin a visit and find out the reason for his company's sudden change in policy.
That's a good idea. Why not take Betty with us? She always had a calming influence on the old boy.
Well, the feminine touch is always helpful.
So you see, Mr. Baldwin, Sir Dennis and I feel that, well, we have the right to ask why this sudden change in policy.
And I'm very happy to tell you. Instead of being used as potential instruments of war, Argosy chemical products will help grow food for a hungry world.
You mean they'll be used in agriculture?
Exactly.
Preposterous. No farming industry could afford such prices. And you should know it as a businessman.
Are you accusing me of underhanded dealing?
Now, Mr. Baldwin, of course he isn't. He's only suggesting that those chemicals could be transshipped to other buyers without your knowledge.
It is a possibility.
Impossible. We ship directly to our agent in Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro?
Yes. And he sends us a record of sales and deliveries. Now, if you'll pardon me, I'm very busy. Manson, glad you dropped in.
Something wrong?
I hope not. I'm not sure. You're certain about this agricultural project in Brazil, aren't you?
In what way?
The chemicals are to be used as fertilizers, insecticides, and the like, aren't they? There's no chance of their being used as munitions.
What? Who gave you that idea?
John Petrie used to be my physician. He and a friend of his, Sir Dennis Nayland Smith, were just here. They're stockholders.
Oh, stockholders. Well, that explains everything. I'm afraid they're more interested in profits than they are in world peace. Don't let it upset you.
But it does upset me. Sorry, Manson. That must be the answer. Sit down.
It was to be expected that Sir Dennis would be sent to investigate the delay in the British armament program. Therefore, we must reach Rio de Janeiro in time to forestall him. Prepare for our immediate departure. We can be sure Sir Dennis will waste no time getting there himself.
Our plane winged over the magnificent harbor and the picturesque modern city of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It all looked very interesting, but we knew we weren't going to have time for sightseeing. By the time we got through customs, it was night. We decided to check into our hotel and wait until morning before going to the warehouse where the chemicals we wanted to investigate were supposed to be stored. We carried credentials as investigators for the auditing firm employed by the Argosy Chemical Company. We could check everything in the warehouse. Sir Dennis had seen to that.
I'm sure it is.
There has been time to put everything in order. There should be no complications. But in dealing with Sir Dennis, one cannot afford to become overconfident. So, when he inspects the warehouse, you will be there. You may pose as a clerk, or perhaps an office worker.
Yes, sir.
Watch Sir Dennis. If he should discover any irregularity, take whatever actions the circumstances indicate. You are armed?
Yes, sir.
The invoice is checked with the shipping records, Mr. Gonzalez. So apparently all the consignments are still in the warehouse here.
Nothing can be shipped to the project till the end of the rainy season.
So the contents of the warehouse should check with these figures.
Oh, they do?
Well, we won't try a complete balance, but we'd like a sample check.
Of course. Every shipment is stacked in a separate block so that everything can be easily counted. Manson, bring the inventory diagram. This way, gentlemen.
It all seems correct. But I think that's all we need, and thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez.
Not at all, senor.
Thank you.
You are certain Sir Dennis has no suspicions?
He said he was satisfied.
I cannot believe Sir Dennis would come this distance to make so short and inconclusive an investigation. Who is on duty at the warehouse at night?
Only a watchman after Gonzalez, the manager, leaves.
As long as Sir Dennis is here, you will stay at the warehouse at night.
Very well, if you think it necessary.
I think it necessary.
Come on in.
Hello, Betty.
Hello, Betty.
Well, tell me.
Well, I thought we'd draw on a blank, but our eagle-eyed friend here managed to spot a clue.
One of the crates supposed to contain chemicals had an extra line of nail holes, as though it had been opened and then nailed up again.
Which could mean that the chemicals have been smuggled out and the crates left behind to make the invoices balance.
Well, why do you say could mean? Why didn't you call the police and find out for sure?
No, Betty, we can't go to the authorities until we have definite proof that the contents of the crates have been tampered with.
What he means is we'll do a little burglarizing tonight, and you were elected to drive the getaway car.
Oh, it sounds interesting.
Well, we shouldn't start before midnight.
Let's have dinner. We'll see you downstairs in a half an hour.
All right, I'll be there.
So long, Betty.
Goodbye.
We don't want the car too close to the scene of the crime.
Now be careful, you two.
We won't be gone long, I hope.
Suspicious or prowlers, shoot first and ask questions afterwards.
I will keep alert.
for someone?
Yes, my friends went into that cafe.
That is a bad place. There is often fighting and trouble.
Well, you know American tourists. They always want to see everything, even the tough places.
It is not good that you wait here alone. I will stay with you until they return.
Oh, but that won't be necessary. I'm sure I'll be all right.
Perhaps, but it will be better if I wait. Cigarette?
Pablo?
Yes, sir.
I was making the rounds.
Everything under control?
Very quiet, sir.
Here. You smoke, Fred.
Thank you, sir.
Boy, this is dirt. Just plain ordinary dirt.
That's all the evidence we need. All right, close the lid.
There is trouble. I must go.
Burglars in the warehouse.
Act drunk. Just come out of that cafe.
Oh, my old friend.
Those are the burglars.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Take your hands off me,
These are the
please.
friends I've been waiting for.
Are you sure you can identify them?
Well, I didn't see their faces, but the burglars came this way.
Well, why don't you have a good look at my face now?
I have met this lady before, and she was waiting for her friends who were in the cafe.
That's us.
I guess I'm mistaken.
Of course you are. Anybody can make a mistake.
Come, we must find the real burglars.
So long.
Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Come on now,
Bye-bye. Isn't late? Not at all. You know, I only had 2 beers. And they call it shop here, old pal.
Come on, Uncle Bill.
So long, pal.
That was nice thinking, Betty. I had to let them go. The officer was standing right there, and I knew you didn't want any publicity.
You handle the situation properly. But now you must act quickly. Fortunately, they have already paved the way for us.
I hope they don't get rid of the evidence.
Well, I still couldn't replace the missing chemicals. And in any event, this is a job for the high-level authorities. Of course, it wouldn't be very diplomatic to disturb them at this time of night. Now I can wait till morning. See who it is.
Where's Miss Leonard?
What do you want of her?
Fu Manchu has authorized me to make an offer. A plan that will clear up this situation to the satisfaction of all of us. But Miss Leonard is involved too, so get her here. At once. Well, we can't just... I suggest that you do it. Now. Without mentioning to her why you want her.
Sir Dennis has had another one of his attacks. Would you bring his medicine over here right away, please?
Attacks? What kind of medicine?
Betty, please bring it right away.
All right.
Come in. Shut the door and get over there with them.
Now, what's this plan that Fu Manchu presents to us?
A rather clever one. You trapped yourselves when you pretended to be drunk. The officer at the cafe will testify that you were intoxicated. And so, when they find you dead in your wrecked car, there won't even be an investigation. Especially if they find a broken bottle with plenty of spilled liquor. Now get your coat and come on.
But I got a pretty good description of the car. It's an older model black Lincoln Zephyr. License number 500724. You better call your office.
Betty, did you have anything to do with the arrival of the police?
Well, John said you'd had an attack, and I know you're not sick, so I figured it must be some other kind of attack.
Good girl.
Anyone for coffee?
I am, for one.
You fool! Driving here directly from the hotel. Even the stupid police will be able to trace you.
I had to. I'm badly wounded.
Kolb!
Within an hour, the police had located the getaway car. Manson had been wounded, and a trail of blood led us into an apartment building. Led us through the corridor to a door. We broke it in.
I can't tell you what a terrible shock this has been to me. To think that I could have been instrumental in furnishing munitions to an enemy of my own country.
Maybe it was a fortunate mistake. Because of it, we were able to break up Fu Manchu's South American organization.
Well, from now on, I'll be very certain our products go only to friendly nations. I don't know how to thank you people enough.
The resumption of your shipments to England will do that for you, Mr. Baldwin.